The vessel called the Luma drifted through a region of space that few dared to enter. Its silver hull carried scratches from past journeys, but none of those compared to the danger it now faced. The ship had been caught too close to a collapsing star. At first, the crew believed their engines could carry them clear, but the pull of the star was stronger than they expected. Inside the command room, Captain Rainer stood at the center of the wide glass dome. His species, the Cyril, were known for calm voices and careful thoughts. Yet even Rainer felt unease as the star outside bent light around its swelling core. The glow was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Engines are failing," said Liro, the ship's navigator. His hands moved quickly across glowing controls, but each number on the screen showed bad news. Rainer closed his eyes for a breath, then answered with steady tone. "Send the signal." The distress beacon activated, pulsing across the dark. A message spread outward in simple universal code: "This is the Cyril vessel Luma. We are trapped near a collapsing star. Requesting urgent assistance." For a long time, the crew waited. Time was heavy in the silence. They expected that one of the Alliance fleets would answer. The Cyril had been members of the Alliance for centuries. They trusted that help would come. Hours passed. No reply. The crew began to whisper. Some wondered if the star's interference blocked the message. Others feared no nearby ships could risk coming close. The Cyril were a gentle people, strong in science but cautious in action. Their hearts were not built for waiting in the shadow of death. Rainer kept his posture tall, though inside he felt the same dread. He told himself that hope must remain, for the crew looked to him. Then a sound broke the silence. The communicator lit up with a foreign signal. Liro adjusted the receiver. "Captain, we have an answer." Rainer stepped closer. "From which fleet?" Liro paused, eyes wide. "It is not Alliance. It is another species. The identification reads Human Ship Horizon." The room grew still. Everyone knew the word. Humans. Deathworlders. The Cyril had heard tales of them. They came from a planet with storms, beasts, and shifting lands. Their bodies were said to survive heat, cold, and even poisons. Their minds were described as daring, sometimes reckless. Among Cyril children, stories of humans were told as warnings, creatures that laughed at danger and rushed into places where wiser beings would not step. Rainer felt both relief and worry. Help had come, but what kind of help? Could these beings truly save them, or would they create more risk? The communicator spoke with a clear voice. "This is Captain Mara of the Horizon. We received your signal. We are approaching your position. Hold steady." The words were calm, almost cheerful. No hint of fear. Rainer pressed the button to respond. His voice carried the measured tone of the Cyril. "This is Captain Rainer of the Luma. We welcome your reply. Our vessel is caught in the gravity of a collapsing star. Our engines cannot escape. We request immediate aid." "Understood," Mara replied. "We will scan the area and send a team. Keep your crew steady." The line closed. The crew of the Luma exchanged uneasy looks. Liro whispered to another officer, "They sound almost casual. Do they not see the danger?" Rainer heard the words, though softly spoken. He did not answer. Instead, he kept his gaze on the dark outside, where the stars' edges glowed brighter each passing hour. At last, a new shape appeared on the edge of the view. A vessel approached, smaller than the Cyril expected. Its frame looked patched together, as if repaired many times with whatever materials could be found. Compared to Alliance cruisers, it seemed fragile. "That is the horizon?" Liro asked in disbelief. Reiner only nodded. In his heart, questions rose. Could such a ship truly save them from the grip of a star? The human vessel drew closer. Signals of scanning swept across space, touching the Luma. On the screen, symbols appeared, showing that the humans were reading the star's collapse, the gravity waves, the failing engines of the Cyril ship. Finally, a voice came again from the communicator. "Captain Reiner, we have your position. We see the problem. We will come aboard and help with repairs." Reiner paused. The thought of Deathworlders walking the halls of his ship sent a ripple of unease through his mind. Yet what choice remained? No other help was near. "You may dock," he answered at last. The crew shifted nervously, whispering their worries. Some feared that humans might damage more than they fixed. Others feared their wild energy would bring risk into the quiet order of the Cyril ship. But when Reiner spoke again, his words were steady. "They are our only hope. We must trust them." Outside, the horizon aligned itself with the Luma, preparing to connect. The glowing star pulsed in the distance, its light bending into strange patterns. The Cyril crew stood waiting, filled with both fear and fragile hope. For the first time, they were about to see the so-called Deathworlders not as stories, but as living beings who had answered a call for help. And as the docking clamps locked in place, Captain Reiner whispered to himself, "May the stars guide us." The docking clamps of the horizon locked against the side of the Luma with a low hum. The Cyril crew waited in the main corridor near the airlock, standing in neat rows. Their pale faces showed calm discipline, but their eyes betrayed unease. Captain Reiner stood at the front. His posture was straight, his hands folded behind his back. He reminded himself that fear must not show. A captain must stand steady for the crew. Still, his heart beat quickly as he listened to the hiss of the airlock opening. The door slid aside. 4 figures stepped through. The humans looked different from the tales. They were taller than most Cyril, with strong builds and eyes that seemed sharp yet warm. Their clothing was simple but sturdy, with tools hanging from belts. Instead of moving with the careful grace of Alliance visitors, the humans walked with relaxed steps, almost casual, as though the collapsing star outside were nothing more than a passing cloud. The one in front raised a hand in greeting. Her voice was clear and friendly. "I am Captain Mara of the Horizon. Thank you for letting us aboard." Reiner bowed his head slightly, the traditional greeting of his people. "I am Captain Reiner of the Luma. We welcome you." The two captains studied one another for a brief moment. Reiner's face showed quiet thought, while Mara's expression carried an easy smile. Around them, the Cyril crew remained still, their long fingers folded neatly, while the humans glanced around with open curiosity. "This is my engineer, Tomasz," Mara continued, pointing to a man carrying a heavy case of tools. "Beside him is our navigator, Lena, and our systems officer, Joe." The humans nodded politely. Reiner gestured toward his own officers. "This is Liro, my navigator, and Sarah, chief of systems." His voice was calm, but inside he wondered how these humans, with their patched clothing and small ship, planned to save them from the grip of a star. Mara seemed to sense the tension. She spoke with steady cheer. "We have studied your situation. The star's collapse is dangerous, yes, but we believe we can help. May we see your engine room?" Reiner agreed. He led the way through the curved halls of the Luma. The humans followed, their boots tapping firmly against the smooth floor. The Cyril crew watched them from the sides, whispering softly. To the Cyril, the humans looked rough, almost careless, yet their eyes carried confidence. When they reached the engine chamber, Tomasz set down his case and immediately opened it. Inside were tools that looked simple, even crude compared to Cyril devices. Yet when he began working, his hands moved with practiced speed. He checked the failing engines, scanned the core, and exchanged quick words with Lena. Rainer and his officers stood nearby, uneasy. "Your engines are strong," Tomasz said as he worked. "But the systems are too careful. They shut down to avoid stress, even when they could still push harder. Humans build engines to endure strain. If we adjust your control lines, we can get more power." Sura frowned. "If we force the engines, they could break." Tomasz gave a small grin. "If we do nothing, you are pulled into the star. If we take the risk, you may escape. Engines can be repaired. Lives cannot." The Cyril officers looked to their captain. Rainer studied Tomasz, then Mara, who nodded firmly as if to say the choice was clear. Finally, Rainer spoke. "Proceed." The humans worked quickly. They did not move with the cautious, step-by-step methods of the Cyril. Instead, they tested, adjusted, and improvised. At times they even joked quietly with one another, easing the tension with laughter. To the Cyril crew, this seemed strange. How could anyone laugh while working in the shadow of a collapsing star? Yet as they watched, they saw that the humor was not carelessness but strength. The humans used it to stay calm, to keep fear away. Hours passed. The ship trembled as the star's pull grew stronger. Alarms flashed across the walls. The Cyril crew whispered their worries, but the humans kept their focus. Sweat formed on their brows, yet their hands never slowed. Finally, Tomasz stepped back from the engine core. "It will hold. You now have more thrust. But it will not be enough to escape directly." Rainer felt his heart sink. "Then we are still trapped." Mara shook her head. "Not trapped. We just need a different path." Her eyes shone with energy, as if the danger excited her rather than frightened her. She looked at Lena, who was already opening charts of the star's gravity. "We will not flee straight away," Mara explained. "We will use the star's pull. A slingshot. We will go closer first, then the star itself will throw us outward." The Cyril crew gasped. To them, the idea sounded impossible. To go closer to the collapsing star was madness. Rainer's calm voice broke the silence. "No Cyril vessel has ever dared such a thing." Mara's smile grew faint but firm. "Then today will be the first." Rainer looked at his crew. Fear was clear in their eyes. But when he turned back to the humans, he saw no fear at all, only determination. For the first time, he wondered if the stories of Deathworlders had been wrong. Perhaps they were not reckless. Perhaps they simply saw hope where others saw none. He gave a slow nod. "Very well. Show us this path." The humans bowed their heads in agreement. The plan was set. Outside, the star pulsed with growing light, as if watching them. Inside, two crews stood together, one cautious, one bold, about to attempt the unthinkable. The plan to use the collapsing star's pull spread through the halls of the Luma. The Cyril crew could hardly believe it. To move closer to the star was to step into certain destruction. Yet the humans spoke of it as if it were a puzzle waiting to be solved. In the engine chamber, Tomasz checked the final adjustments. His hands were covered with light smudges of grease, and his clothing looked worn from many repairs, yet his focus never wavered. Lena stood beside him, running calculations across her small tablet. She spoke quickly, her voice calm but filled with energy. "We have a narrow window," Lena explained. "If we angle the ship just right, the star's pull will spin us around and launch us away. Miss the angle, and we fall in." The Cyril officers who stood nearby exchanged uneasy glances. They were used to clear, tested procedures. This plan sounded too uncertain, too risky. Rainer entered the chamber, his step slow and steady. "How long do we have before the star collapses fully?" he asked. "Not long," Tomasz answered. "Your engines can only hold out for a few more cycles. We need to move soon." Rainer gave a nod. He did not let his worry show, though inside he felt a weight pressing against him. His crew's lives rested in the hands of beings they had once called reckless. The humans began preparing for outside repairs as well. Some of the engine conduits needed realignment for the extra power. To the Cyril, the thought of stepping outside in such dangerous radiation was terrifying. Their suits could not endure it for long. But the humans showed no fear. Mara herself suited up first. She pulled on the heavy layers with practiced ease, fastening her helmet with a click. Tomasz and Joe followed, checking each other's seals with steady hands. The Cyril officers watched in silence. To them, the humans looked fragile. Their bodies were soft compared to the strong outer shells of other species. Their ship was patched and small. Yet they walked toward the airlock as if this task were ordinary. Rainer spoke quietly. "Do you understand the risk? The radiation levels are rising. The heat is beyond safe measure." Mara's voice carried through the helmet speaker. "We understand. But this is the work we must do. If we let fear hold us, your ship will not survive. Better to act." With that, the airlock opened, and the humans stepped into the blackness of space. Through the glass viewports, the Cyril crew watched them move across the hull. Their suits shone faintly in the light of the star. The humans worked together with swift precision, clipping lines, adjusting panels, and welding joints. At times the ship shook as waves of gravity rippled outward, yet the humans did not flinch. Inside, the Cyril whispered among themselves. "They laugh," one said softly, pointing to the communication line where human voices shared small jokes. "How can they laugh when death is so near?" Rainer listened, his eyes fixed on the glowing suits outside. He heard the humans speaking with calm cheer, making light comments to ease the heavy silence. Slowly, he began to understand. It was not that they ignored danger. It was that they faced it without letting it crush their spirit. Hours passed. The radiation alarms blinked, but the humans kept working until the final connections were secure. Then they returned through the airlock, their suits marked by dust and heat, yet their voices still steady. "Repairs are done," Tomasz reported. "Engines can take the strain. We are ready for the maneuver." The Cyril crew looked at them with new eyes. The humans did not appear reckless now. They appeared strong in a way that was different from any other species. Rainer stood tall before his crew. "You see them," he said quietly, but his words carried. "They face what we feared to face. Let us not fall behind. Stand ready." Back in the command dome, both crews worked side by side. Lena placed her calculations across the screen, showing the angle and timing needed for the slingshot. Lero studied them, at first doubtful, then slowly nodding as the numbers proved true. "We must pass very close," Lena explained. "Too far, and we are trapped. Too near, and we burn." Only a narrow path will save us. Reiner listened. His calm voice answered, then we will follow that path. The engines hummed as Tomash and Sarah aligned the systems. Joe watched the stars' patterns, giving warnings as waves of light burst outward. The whole ship seemed alive with nervous energy, every crew member aware that the next hours would decide their fate. Through it all, the humans kept their steady manner. They spoke with confidence, shared clear instructions, and even smiled at moments. Their presence filled the Cyril with a strange new courage. As the final checks were complete, Mara turned to Reiner. Captain, once we begin, there is no turning back. Do you trust us? Reiner met her gaze. He saw no arrogance in her eyes, only calm strength. Slowly, he nodded. I trust you. Mara gave a firm smile. Then let us fly. Outside, the star pulsed brighter, its light bending the space around it. Inside, the Luma trembled as the engines powered to full. The slingshot was about to begin. The Luma trembled as its engines pushed to their limit. The crew felt the deep hum through the floor, steady and powerful, yet not enough to carry them free. Ahead, the collapsing star burned brighter, its glow bending space into waves of light that shimmered like water. Inside the command dome, the Cyril officers watched the star with wide eyes. None of them had ever been so close to such danger. The brightness filled the dome, painting their pale faces with shifting gold and red. We cannot outrun it, said Sarah, her voice tight. Even with the extra power, the pull is too strong. Reiner kept his eyes on the humans. He wanted to see how they reacted, for their calmness had already surprised him many times. Mara stood tall at the center, her hands on the rail. She studied the screens without fear. Then she spoke, her tone steady. We will not try to outrun it. We will let it pull us closer. At the right angle, the star's own gravity will throw us outward. Her words stirred unease among the Cyril. Lero shook his head. That is madness. No vessel has survived such a path. It is too close. Lena leaned forward, her tablet glowing with calculations. The star is like a river. If you fight against the current, you drown. But if you move with the current, it carries you. We will not fight the pull. We will use it. The Cyril crew exchanged worried looks. Their training had taught them always to avoid danger, not to approach it. Yet these humans spoke as if danger itself could be turned into a tool. Reiner lifted a hand, and silence filled the dome. Explain, he said simply. Lena placed the chart on the main screen. A bright arc showed the path around the star. We must bring the Luma into this curve. At this point, the gravity will spin us faster. With the engines pushing at the same moment, the ship will shoot free. Sarah frowned. If the angle is even slightly wrong, we will fall into the star. That is true, Lena admitted. But the numbers are sound. It is our only chance. Reiner studied the chart. His mind was calm, though his heart carried weight. He turned to his crew. You hear the plan. It is bold, but we have no other path. Do you trust them? The Cyril crew looked at one another. Doubt remained in their eyes, yet slowly, one by one, they nodded. At last, Reiner looked at Mara. Very well. We will follow this course. Mara gave a short smile. Good. Then let us prepare. The dome filled with movement. Cyril officers checked their stations while the humans worked beside them. For the first time, the two crews blended, their hands moving over the same controls, their voices sharing the same urgency. Tomasz coordinated with Sarah in the engine room. "We will need every unit of thrust," he said. "Do not let the systems cut power, no matter the stress." Sarah hesitated, then answered firmly. "They will hold." In navigation, Lero followed Lena's numbers. At first, his hands shook, unused to such daring moves. But Lena guided him with calm confidence, and slowly his fear gave way to focus. The countdown began. The Luma tilted, its nose turning toward the bright core. The sight filled every heart with dread. To move closer felt like walking into fire. Yet the humans spoke with steady voices, keeping the fear at bay. "Hold the line," Mara said. "Not yet. Wait for the curve." The pull of the star grew stronger. The ship shook. Metal groaned. Lights flickered as waves of gravity pressed against the hull. Some Cyril crew gripped their seats tightly, whispering quiet prayers. "Almost there," Lena said, eyes fixed on the chart. "Steady. Steady." Rainer felt the weight of fear pressing down. But when he looked at the humans, he saw no panic. They stood firm, their faces set with determination. Their calm spread through him, and he found his voice strong once more. "Hold your posts," Rainer called. "We are not finished yet." Then Lena's voice rose. "Now. Engines full." Tomasz and Sarah pushed the controls together. The engines roared, filling the ship with deep thunder. The Luma shot forward, the pull of the star twisting its path into a sharp curve. The crew felt their bodies pressed against their seats as the force grew heavier. Outside, the collapsing star burned with wild light. For a moment, it seemed the ship would be swallowed. Then the curve tightened, and the vessel spun faster, caught in the grip of gravity. "Steady," Mara called, her voice strong over the alarms. "Steady, and push." The ship strained, every bolt trembling, every panel shaking. Yet it held. The star's gravity spun it like a stone from a sling. The Luma shot outward, breaking free of the deadly pull. Alarms silenced. The trembling eased. The view outside changed from burning fire to open space. A long breath filled the dome. The Cyril crew looked around, their eyes wide with wonder. They had survived. The plan had worked. Rainer stood tall, his calm voice carrying pride. "We are clear." The humans smiled, not with surprise, but with quiet satisfaction, as though they had always known it was possible. The Cyril crew, who had once doubted them, now looked at the humans with new respect. Perhaps the stories had been wrong. Perhaps these so-called Deathworlders were not reckless after all. Perhaps they simply thought sideways, seeing paths where others saw only walls. The Luma had escaped the first pull of the collapsing star, but safety was still far away. The ship now sped outward, guided by the slingshot maneuver. For a moment, the Cyril crew felt hope rising in their hearts. Yet as soon as relief came, new alarms lit up across the command dome. Lero's hands flew across the control panel. His calm voice cracked for the first time. "The strain is too great. The stabilizers are failing." The vessel shook as if it were caught in a storm. The pull of the star was behind them now, but its gravity waves still reached out like unseen tides. The Cyril were not used to such violent motion. Their bodies leaned against the force, their hands gripping the rails with white knuckles. Mara stood firm at the center of the dome. Her voice cut through the noise. "Stay steady. We have come too far to falter now." The Cyril looked at her in surprise. Her tone carried no panic. Her eyes burned with focus. It was as if the chaos around her was only another problem to be solved. Reiner, holding the rail beside her, turned to his crew. "Do not fear. Hold your stations. The path is not yet complete." The words, calm and steady, gave the crew something to cling to. Still, their hearts pounded as the ship shook again, lights flickering across the dome. In the engine chamber, Tomasz and Sura worked side by side. Heat filled the air, and the control boards glowed red with warning signs. "We need more balance," Tomasz said. "The left stabilizer is taking too much stress. If it breaks, the ship will spin." Sura's hands moved quickly, adjusting lines, shifting power. Sweat rolled down her temples, but her voice stayed clear. "I can reroute, but only for a short time." "Do it," Tomasz said. "Short time is all we need." Back in the dome, Lena studied her tablet, her voice quick but steady. "Another wave is coming. Hold the angle or we will tumble." Reiner looked at Lero, whose hands shook slightly on the controls. He saw the fear in his eyes. "Navigator," Reiner said firmly, "you are not alone. Follow the numbers. Trust them." Lero took a breath, his hands steadying. With Lena's guidance, he adjusted the course. The ship groaned as the wave struck, but it held. For a moment, the dome was filled with silence. The Cyril crew sat frozen, waiting for disaster. Instead, the Luma steadied. The lights glowed white again, no longer flickering. A cheer broke from some of the humans, quick laughter following. The Cyril turned in surprise. How could they laugh when the danger was still so near? Yet Reiner understood now. The laughter was not denial. It was strength. It was a way of saying they had faced the storm and would not let it crush their spirits. Still, the trial was not over. The star behind them continued to collapse, sending waves of energy through space. The ship would need to endure until it was far enough away. Mara gave orders with clear precision. "Keep the engines steady. Do not let them falter now. Balance the stabilizers. Ride each wave as it comes." Her voice guided them, calm as a captain on calm seas. Slowly, the Cyril began to mirror her manner. Fear gave way to focus. Panic gave way to steady action. Hour by hour, the trial continued. At times the ship shook so hard the walls groaned. At times the crew felt their stomachs turn as gravity shifted in strange bursts. Yet through it all, they held together. Reiner moved among his officers, his voice always calm. He repeated the steady words of the humans. "Hold. Trust the path. One wave at a time." At last, after what felt like an endless night, the stars outside steadied. The light of the collapsing star grew smaller behind them. The waves of gravity weakened. The Luma floated free into calmer space. The silence that followed was heavy, but this time it was not filled with fear. It was filled with relief. Sura sank back in her chair, her voice soft. "We are clear." Lero let out a long breath. "We are alive." For a moment, no one moved. Then Reiner turned to Mara. "You brought us through." Mara shook her head. "No. We all brought us through. Your crew held their courage. Without that, no plan would matter." Reiner looked around at his officers. He saw their tired faces, their eyes wide with both relief and new understanding. They had seen what it meant to face trial with courage. They had seen how humans used strength not only in body, but in spirit. The Cyril crew would never forget this day. They had trusted strangers once feared as reckless Deathworlders. And those strangers had shown them a new way to stand in the face of danger. The trial was over. The Luma was free. Yet in every heart, Cyril and human alike, a deeper journey had begun. The Luma floated in the calm of space, far from the pull of the collapsing star. The ship creaked softly as it adjusted to normal gravity, a quiet reminder of the trial it had just endured. The Cyril crew moved slowly through the halls, their steps careful but lighter than before. Relief was everywhere, mixed with wonder. Captain Rainer walked to the command dome. He stopped before the viewport, looking at the faint glow of the star in the distance. It seemed smaller now, distant but still magnificent. He breathed deeply and turned to see Mara standing beside him. "You did not panic," Rainer said quietly. "Even when it seemed impossible." Mara smiled faintly. "We had to act. Fear would not have helped. Only focus could bring us through." Rainer nodded, though he still felt the weight of his responsibilities. "I must admit, we feared humans. Our stories call you reckless, even dangerous. But now I see something else. You think differently. You act with courage that is both strong and wise." Mara tilted her head, considering his words. "Perhaps your stories were half right. We have faced dangers that others could not survive. But we do not rush blindly. We study, we plan, and we adapt. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to act despite it." Rainer's eyes softened. He had heard many lessons about bravery, but seeing it in action changed the meaning. The humans had taught them something that no book or lecture could. The Cyril crew gathered around the dome. Liro and Cyril looked at the humans with new respect. Liro spoke first, his voice quiet. "We thought you were reckless. We thought you would endanger us. But you have shown strength that goes beyond our understanding." Tomasz laughed lightly. "We have our ways. Life on our home world teaches you to adapt, to survive, to take what seems impossible and make it real. It is not recklessness. It is endurance, and it is imagination." Cyril looked thoughtful. "Endurance, yes. But also trust. We had to trust you, and you trusted us in return." Mara nodded. "Trust is always the first step. Without it, no plan, no courage, no strength would matter." Rainer looked around at his officers. "Today, we have learned more than we thought possible. Not only about survival, but about seeing the universe in a new way. Perhaps we have been too cautious, too limited in our thinking. We must remember this lesson." The crew absorbed the words in silence, each feeling the truth behind them. They had watched humans face danger without fear, adapt quickly, and remain calm under impossible pressure. That calm had carried them through. That calm had become part of the Cyril's experience now. Mara stepped closer to Rainer. "Your people are disciplined and clever. We needed that today. Without your focus and willingness to try, the plan would have failed. Courage is shared, not one-sided." Rainer's lips curved into a small smile. "Then perhaps the name Deathworlders has been misunderstood. You are not monsters or reckless beings. You are a people shaped by challenge, learning to survive and adapt. That is a lesson we must bring back to our alliance." Mara's expression brightened. "If we can show that cooperation can overcome fear, then we have done more than save a ship. We have shared knowledge that may change how your people see the universe and us." The Cyril crew began to discuss quietly among themselves, their voices lighter, filled with curiosity rather than fear. They asked questions about the horizon, about the humans' homeworld, about how they learned to survive dangers their world threw at them. Liro turned to Tomasz. Your planet sounds harsh. How did your people grow strong enough to do what you did? Tomasz shrugged. We were forced to adapt. Every day brought challenges. Life was never easy. We learned to see possibility in danger. And we learned to help each other, because no one survives alone. Sarah smiled faintly. That is something we can learn from. Not just courage, but also teamwork in the face of impossible odds. Rainer placed a hand on the rail and looked at the calm stars ahead. Today, we were saved not only by power and skill, but by a new way of seeing danger, by trust, by courage that is calm and steady. We will remember this day forever. Mara nodded. And you will share it with others. Perhaps then your alliance will see that humans are not beings to fear, but allies to trust. Rainer's heart felt lighter. He had once believed that the stories of Deathworlders were warnings. Now he understood that the name carried respect, earned through endurance, ingenuity, and courage. The crews spent the rest of the day sharing knowledge. The Cyril explained their technology and methods. The humans shared their practical tricks and clever solutions. Each learned from the other, building trust that went beyond the emergency. As the calm of space settled around Aluma, Rainer realized something profound. Fear could be overcome, danger could be faced, and strength could come in forms they had never known. The lesson of the trial had changed them all. Courage was not simply strength or discipline. Courage was imagination, endurance, trust, and calm. And for the first time, the Cyril felt that humans were not a mystery to fear, but a lesson to learn from. The Luma and the horizon floated side by side in calm space. The collapsing star was a distant glow now, barely visible through the viewports. The Cyril crew moved through their halls with a new sense of ease. Their hearts were still filled with excitement and relief, but also with respect for the humans who had guided them through the impossible. Captain Rainer called his officers to the command dome. His eyes swept over the crew. We have survived because we trusted others. And we have learned that courage can take many forms. Today, we saw it in humans, and we felt it in ourselves. The Cyril crew listened quietly. Each officer reflected on the lessons of the trial, remembering the fear they had felt, the trust they had given, and the courage they had witnessed. Mara entered the dome, standing beside Rainer. Her expression was calm and proud. Your crew was steady. They held their fear, followed the plan, and acted when needed. Without that, nothing would have worked. Rainer nodded. And your crew showed us that what we once thought reckless is sometimes strength we do not yet understand. Humans adapt, imagine, and endure. That is a lesson we must remember. The Cyril crew began to gather around the humans, asking questions about the horizon, about their planet, and about how they learned to survive the dangers of their home world. Tomasz smiled as he answered, sharing stories of challenges and lessons learned from a harsh environment. Our planet teaches you to see possibility, he said. Every day is a test. You learn to solve problems that others think impossible. You learn to trust your team. You learn to keep calm when the world is wild. That is what made today possible. Sarah, who had watched him work on the engines, nodded. It is not recklessness. It is careful planning, skill, and courage combined. We can learn from that. Rainer smiled faintly. We will take this lesson to the Alliance. They will hear of the humans who faced a collapsing star and brought us through. They will learn that courage comes in many forms, not only in strength or technology, but in spirit and imagination. Mara gave a small nod. And perhaps, by sharing this story, we will teach that trust and cooperation can bridge even the widest differences. Outside, the stars shimmered quietly. The Luma's engines hummed steadily, its hull calm after the ordeal. The humans prepared to depart, their small ship steady and sure. Before leaving, Mara turned to Reiner. "Remember, what we did today is not magic. It is endurance, trust, and seeing paths where others see only walls. Your people can carry this knowledge far." Reiner bowed slightly. "We will remember. And we will share it." Today, the Luma learned more than survival. We learned courage and friendship from those we once feared. The docking clamps disengaged, and the horizon slowly drifted away. The humans waved, their expressions calm and cheerful. The Cyril crew watched, feeling gratitude deep in their hearts. They had been saved, yes, but they had also gained something more important, a new understanding of courage, teamwork, and trust. Reiner stood at the viewport, watching the horizon disappear into the black. "Farewell, friends," he whispered. "May the stars guide you always." The crew began preparing to return to their home world. They moved through the ship with quiet energy, sharing stories of the trial, laughing at moments of fear that had now turned into lessons. Even Lero, who had been the most fearful, walked with steady steps, a small smile on his lips. In the following days, the Cyril wrote reports and shared the story of the horizon and its crew. They described the humans' courage, their calm determination, and their clever ways of seeing solutions. The Alliance listened with growing wonder. Tales of Deathworlders no longer spoke only of danger. Now they spoke of allies who could be trusted and learned from. Reiner stood once more at the command dome, gazing at the stars ahead. He felt a quiet pride, not only in his crew, but in the bond that had formed between species. They had faced danger together, and through that, a new understanding had grown. He realized that the universe was larger and stranger than the Cyril had imagined. And courage, he understood now, was not only in strength, but in the willingness to act, to trust, and to face the unknown with calm determination. The legacy of this mission would last far beyond the Luma. The story of the humans who had answered a distress signal, who had walked into danger without fear, would inspire generations of Cyril. It would change how they saw the universe and the beings within it. As the Luma prepared to jump to faster space, Reiner looked back one last time. The horizon was gone, but its lesson remained. In every heart aboard the Luma, the humans' courage shone like a star, guiding them toward the future. And the story would be told, for years to come, of the day the Deathworlders answered a distress signal and changed the hearts of another people forever.